Can you indulge any selection information to us?
We would have seen a little bit of it. Sid's going to go back and play some full games for us, or at least a full game. We won't lock it into more than one, but we just feel that's going to help him just with where things sit at the moment, and we'll create an opportunity for someone else to play a role in the 23.
What's been his feedback to you with being the sub so often?
Good question. Look, I think he's enjoyed it. He's enjoyed the challenge. I'm very understanding of how tough that role can be, even for an experienced player. It sounds simple, just come on and play and you'll be fresher than everyone else. It's not that simple to sit on the bench and watch a game of footy and then come on. So we've talked through that, he and I, and it's probably part of the reason that we don't just lock him into it, because he just seems the perfect player for it at this point, early in his career. Slightly shorter game. He's an explosive player who I believe in time is going to have a real weapon. That's why he went so high in the draft. He's really enjoyed the challenge. Now he's embracing the fact that he'll go back and get some full games of footy in and really work on, trying to get himself right to come back in and impact hopefully at a full game at AFL.
So is it experience or youth you use to replace him? Laird and Taylor were both out there.
Laird will come back in, so we'll bring Laird back in. At this point, we'll sort of make a decision in the coming 24 hours around what we do, whether it's a little taller. Again, we'll look at a little bit at conditions, but yeah, we've got a fair bit of a nice balance at the moment when it comes to experience. When we do take Taylor out, we become the second or third youngest team in the comp, and when he comes in, we jump substantially up the ladder. So it shows the difference between teams. It can be one or two players, but at the moment that balance is working well for us.
I'm sure Brody making you play him again. Last time he came in, it was for one game. Is he making you keep him in for a second this time around?
We really love what he's bringing on and off field at the moment. A lot of questions around how's Brody handling it. Brody's been fantastic. Very open dialogue with him around where we're at and what we're trying to do as a group and how important he is to that. He'd love to play every week. There's no hiding that. He wants to play AFL footy and he's done it for the majority of his career. But he's coming in and playing a fantastic role and been an important part of what we've done for 2 games now. We've had 2 really strong wins. So he's not backwards in coming in and knocking on my door and just letting me know the margins when he's played.
Does he often play up forward? He's kicked a couple of screamers as well in both games.
He plays up forward a bit when he's down back. It's one of his weapons. He attacks the game. He's a very assertive player. Has been right throughout his career. That's his weapon. And so we don't hold that back. We talk to our guys about what they do best, embrace that. And he's been off the back of some really strong team play. He's been in great positions to hit the scoreboard.
Are you sure you definitely get Matt Crouch back this year? I feel like he's been listed as 4 to 6 weeks for about 4 to 6 weeks. It doesn't feel like that timeline's shortening.
Yeah, it's one of those ones we keep working through with Matty. We don't want to get this one wrong and come back too early. He was playing through some pretty tough conditions with his body when he went out of the side, and that's why we made the decision. Matty at his best, he's one of the best inside midfielders in the comp. That's a tough gig, playing inside and bashing and crashing all the time, and it's taken its toll on him. And so we don't want him to play under duress. We want to make sure that he's at his best. And at the moment, we're in a fortunate position through hard work that we've got guys that have stepped up and are playing a really strong role for us in and around that midfield. So with that, it means we can do the right thing and not rush Matty back. We don't feel like we need to rush that. So that's sort of why there's a slight change to his timeline. Really confident we'll get him back this season for sure.
How is he feeling at the moment?
Well, he's feeling a lot better. Obviously, he's freshened up. Now what we'll do is get to work and he'll start to get himself back out on the track, start to put himself through a lot more change of direction and a little bit of contact. And hopefully off the back of that, he feels great, and then he's able to come in and put his hand up and say, hey, I'm ready when needed.
I want to take you back to gather round against Geelong. You just conceded for the first time in 4 weeks more than 100 points, and you spoke post-match about how much of a focused defence would be. Since then, you're the #1 defence in the comp. You're conceding 62 points per game. How much in that week and since then was it a tweak, or was it a bit of an overhaul of the defence, and is that possible a seminal moment for you this season?
Definitely a tweak. A little bit structurally on what we do, but more so our mindset and our ability to, in really important moments, our click to defend. It was minor, but it's obviously made a major change to our game, and credit to our group, that they embraced it so quickly. We were able to train it. We probably thought it might take a little longer to turn it around, but it's an area that we've prided ourselves on for a number of years. It's been one of our main KPIs is the ability to limit scores against. I know there's a lot of noise out there about our offence, and when we get our game going and teams trying to stop our game, some of our best offence comes off our defence. So we've known that. So it's no surprise it didn't take long, but I've been really impressed with the way that guys have been able to stick to it and go about it, especially against some strong sides through that period.
Now you come up against the Lions side, who've been at their best against the best sides. Your record against top 8 sides this year is, I think, 1 win and 4 losses. So how much do you lean on that defence extra tomorrow night in what's going to be one of your toughest challenges today?
Yeah, it's that transition moment, because Brisbane will punish you. So we'll make some mistakes, there's no doubt about that, during the game, and it's how we look and how quickly we can transition when we make those. Brisbane would be as good as any in the comp, especially off their sort of defensive mid area. They've proven that now for a long period of time. Their last year's the best team last year. They won it for a reason. So for us, we're going to have to bring our best, which we did last week. I think we saw our game really come together last week. Everything seemed to be going our way. You make your own luck though. We were in positions where, when the bounce was there to go our way, we were ready for it. And so, can we back that performance up? We're going to have to this week against Brizzy, because they'll have no mercy on us.
What would it do for the belief of the group if you could, beat the reigning premiers on national TV in a big game? I know you're sitting in third, but what sort of belief does a win like that sort of give a group?
Oh, similar to the win we just had. We hadn't won in Sydney, not since I've been here the last 6 years. And it's similar. You go up against, the sides that are fighting, that everybody knows will be there. Brisbane will be there come the end of the year. Their record speaks for itself this year off a premiership. So it'll just give us further momentum. Our guys took a lot of confidence out of last week, the way we played. This will be another step in that if we're able to bring our game and get it done.
Braden touched on that 1-4 record against top 8 sides this year. I know you've ticked a lot of boxes this year, but does that feel, beating those calibre sides more often, does that feel like one of the next big steps for the group?
Not really. I mean, yes, that'll be the outcome, but we're sort of dug into the process, and so we can only do what we can do against the Oppo every week. Some of our tougher games are on the road at the MCG, playing Collingwood. We understand how tough they are. We could get everything right and still not win those games. We're just locked in on what we need to do, and that'll be tomorrow night. What is it we need to do to beat any side? We need to do it for a lot longer to beat Brisbane.
Correct. Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask if Murray Davis has been more important this week than other weeks.
Well, Murray knows him very well. He's been there for a while. He's got huge respect for him, and and we've spoken a lot since Murray arrived about how they went about things throughout their journey and their build, how they got to a premiership last year, the way Fags operates. There's so many things that we've looked at, and some we've implemented. Some of them really small. Some things, we'll go into this game knowing what they do. It's a matter of whether you're able to stop it or not. But our Oppo this week has been reasonably thorough, having Murray Davis inside our 4 walls.
What's he brought? What's the biggest thing that he's brought for you this year?
Oh, Murray's. When we actually employed Murray, and we got him inside, it was like we couldn't have got a better person for what we needed. Just a balance, incredible experience. He's been able to work through a process that we're still going through, and we'll continue to build, and we have to keep improving. But he went through that with Brisbane, so he's got experience of the things that maybe you don't do, the things that you do, put up the top of the important list. He's been fantastic for us. Just a really balanced human being and a very, very good coach. who's had great experience.
Well, you maybe in the wet against Collingwood, did you maybe go in a bit too tall, and does that, if it's wet and windy tomorrow night, does that impact your selection in terms of size?
Yeah, there's that comes into our consideration. There's probably a little more about how we played first half in that game, and getting used. We hadn't played the MCG as much. It is a different ground. It's a lot wider, but yeah, conditions do dictate the team we pick, but it also dictates how we go about the game, how we play the game, and I think we'll be definitely better for that game. Won't necessarily mean we'll go in smaller, and we've talked about our tools ahead of the ball and the fact that they can play below their knees and they're reasonably good on the ground. So it probably comes back more to our structure and how we'll go in if it is raining for majority of the day and into the night.
Last two guys.
How are you seeing Isaac Rankin's form? Felt like first month or so it was all Australian blazer and all those sorts of things, but maybe just from a numbers point of view, maybe just a bit down in the last month or so.
Maybe from a numbers point of view, but not from what we're seeing internally. We're still seeing him have a huge impact. I think he had coaches' votes maybe even last week, or less than a week ago, and what I can say is that those votes were from the opposition. So he's still impacting the game, and maybe our expectations go on a little higher for his role's slightly different the last few weeks, and we'll keep tweaking that more so. As I mentioned before, being blessed to have a few guys that are stepping up through the midfield. We don't want to smash Isaac in there all year. We'll keep an eye on that, but we do want him around the footy as much as possible. So I still feel like he's impacting for us.
You touched on before about how Murray had been through that arc with Brisbane, the journey. Do you see similarities between where they've come from and obviously got to the ultimate, to the journey that you guys are going on?
Yeah, we've watched a lot of what they've done from afar because we haven't necessarily been inside, and been incredibly impressed with the way they've built it and their patience. They're a club that should be proud of the way they went about it, and they're going to have sustained success off the back of that. And so there's no doubt we look at a lot of clubs across the league at what we think we should implement and what we shouldn't, and Brisbane's definitely right up near the top.
Nisai Wanganeen are one of the most sought after players out of contract at the moment. He's in town. Jason Conn-Francis revealed on radio that he and Jace Borgman went out for dinner with him. Can you call on anyone here to go and have a quick feed? And although that's tongue in cheek, how important is it for those just little 1%ers when you might have an interest in a player?
Yeah, they're really important 1%ers, but we don't talk about players that are out of the clubs.